Age discrimination. It's a real thing. People have a lot of stereotypes about older people. Once they start seeing a little bit of wrinkles or some gray hair, they tend to make assumptions a lot of times on what we can do, what we can't do, what we're going to be like, how we're going to respond to things. And we might think that age is just a number. And sure, it's a number. It doesn't really indicate who we are on the inside. But talking about numbers, I can remember when I was growing up, because I came of age in the 70s near San Francisco, and that was back in the hippie days, peace and love and end the war and all that stuff. And yeah, we were rebels. And we had this attitude that we weren't supposed to trust anybody over 30, right? Now, 30, now that to me sounds like I almost shouldn't trust them because they're too young, but that was an attitude that we had that was based on age, starting so far back. And then moving a little farther, I was over 30, but I had friends that were turning 40. And I remember 40, they had birthday parties with black balloons with the number 40 on them. Oh no, 40. And we're starting to get old. We're starting to get a few gray hairs here and there. I have two kids that are both over 40 now. Wow, that doesn't seem old at all. And then you get to the number 50 and the number 60, and I start thinking about the word elderly. I remember when I was a kid, the word elderly to me meant somebody who was thin and frail and stooped over and spoke with a quavery voice. Now, I don't have that attitude exactly about that word anymore, but still the word elderly, even though elder just means older, still, it's not an image that I think we need to have for people who are getting older. But I do believe that there are positive things that we can do to help to stop this kind of thought process, to stop these attitudes about age, to stop some of the discrimination. I know we're not going to end that altogether. We can't eliminate these attitudes, but there are steps that we can take as we age that will help people to change their attitude of getting older. Now, one thing I think about it is if they could only think that they will be getting older also. And how do I want people to treat me when I get to be that age? And maybe with that kind of a thought process, they would start to treat older people with more respect and treat people as they age as if they had the value that they really do have. But there is a lot that we can do. One of those things, I want you to think about something. Who do you know that's older than you are that you admire? For whatever reason, maybe they've taken care of themselves physically, maybe they're sharp mentally, or maybe they're always inquisitive, learning new things, or maybe they've been able to maintain a positive attitude and not get pessimistic. Or maybe they're very caring people, very loving people that accept everybody into their lives. Now, who are these people that you admire? I know I've got a few people in my life that are a few years older than I am, and I have jokingly but seriously said to them, I want to be like you when I grow up. Really, I say grow up because I realize that we are always growing. We should be always giving ourselves opportunities to grow because we are changing. And because of that, we've got to have some people in our lives that we admire, that we want to imitate in some way in our own lives. And when you think of these people that you admire, what can you do to imitate them? One thing that it's so important that we do as we age is that we don't withdraw. It's so easy just to want to spend time around people that are in our own age group because it can be uncomfortable to be around younger people, but it's so important if we want to try to reduce these stereotypes and keep others that are younger than us in touch with the experience of growing older. Spend time with all ages. Spend time with children, with youth, with young people, young adults. Find ways to be involved in their lives. And it's not just going to be a matter of giving them advice and helping them grow up, but stay involved, even though it's tempting to separate yourself from them. Because really, that is the only way that they are going to have an inspiration for their own lives as they age. And along with that, when we're doing that, we need to evaluate our own attitude about aging. How do we feel about it ourselves? Do we look at ourselves in the mirror and say, oh, I'm getting those wrinkles, I'm getting the gray hair, I'm getting this crepey skin, and I can't avoid it, I'm getting older? Well, that's the truth. But there are two kinds of aging. There is chronological aging and biological aging, and they don't always have to go together. Chronological, that's easy to understand. Those are the years that go by. You are getting older in years. There's only one way to stop that, and that's to pass on to the other side, which is not a horrible thing, but I think it's important that we stick around as long as we can, because we have experience, we have wisdom that we need to pass on to other people. So let's not check out too early. But the other kind is the biological aging. Biological is what your body is doing. Now, we have a certain amount of control over what happens to our body. Now, if you're already beginning the aging process, it may be too late to delay some of the things, but there's still a lot that we can do. And I'm not going to get into all the health issues and talking about dementia and diet and the whole thing. I've got videos about that. Take a look at my channel and you can check some of them out. But mostly about our attitude about it. How do we feel about getting older? Do we feel like, okay, from here, it's just downhill until I'm gone? That is the worst thing that we can do, because if we have that attitude, not only is that going to drag us down, but also people around us can adopt that same attitude. And if we want to help instill in other people the attitude that aging is a positive experience, aging, it's what we've lived our whole lives up until now to accomplish, to get to this age. So why are we going to waste it by thinking that, oh, life's almost over, I'm not worth anything now? If we have that attitude about ourselves, how can anybody else have a different attitude? How can anybody else see our value as a person if we don't see value in our own lives? So we really do need to evaluate our own attitude about aging. And if there are areas that we need to improve, start now. If you need to start taking better care of yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, take the steps you need to take. It's never too late to make something better. But what is the attitude that we have about our own value? Human beings have value. Every human being, because we're created in God's image, and we have value not only for everybody else, but we need to have value for ourselves. And if we don't see that, we're not going to be able to communicate that to the people around us. So how can we help other people to see our value as we age? The only way that we can do that is if we set an example for them. And this starts by refusing to accept the stereotypes that people have for aging. If we refuse to accept those in our own lives, then we can move forward to help other people to change their opinion, change their assumptions of what it means to age, what it means to grow older. We can be an example in digging in, learning, growing, changing, and also listening to other people's opinions and responding in a way that helps them to understand more accurately what it is like to grow older. We can be an example in our attitude. If we start getting pessimistic, if we start getting angry about things, that is the worst example that we can set. because that will just reinforce the idea that growing older is a negative experience. And we want people to see that maturity is something to be valued. We can stay active physically. We can move. We can do things. We can stay active mentally, learn new things. It amazes me sometimes when people will go back to college and they'll get advanced degrees when they're over 60, over 70 years old, at advanced ages, new relationships, people that even get married when they're past 70. Now, these things might seem odd to some, but to me they're not, because growing older is a matter of growing. It's a matter of advancing, not just in years, but in experience and becoming more of a complete person. This is the example that we can set for others. It's not downhill all the way. It's not just these old people. Just leave them alone. They're not worth anything. Interact. Be an example. Show people that they really do have an opportunity to enjoy their old age when they get to that point. So how can we reduce these attitudes, reduce the stereotyping and the discrimination? Don't stop trying to show people, most importantly, that growing older is just an opportunity for you to take all those years of experience, to take all of that wisdom, take everything that you've been through, the things you've enjoyed, the things you've suffered, put them to good use. Enjoy the fruits of everything that you've been through, because you've been living your whole life just to get to the point that you're at right now. And if we can communicate that attitude to other people, especially young people, and as they're growing, be an example. Thinking back about those people that you admire that are older than you are, let's be that to people who are younger than us, and see the end when you're nearing the end of your days, and see that opportunity for somebody else to say, I want to be like her, I want to be like him when I grow up. So be strong and keep a good attitude, and try not to let other people's bad attitudes bother you too much, but instead just try to be an example to others of what they can be when they grow up. So thanks for watching. Go ahead and check out this next video, because if you like this one, I think you're going to like that too. And I'll see you there.